I know will be a wonderful conversation with Attorney Benjamin Crump. I first just want to say that it's a real honor to be up here and facilitating this conversation with you. I have been inspired by your work, and in particular, your role standing by families in their darkest hours, facing tragedies. You've been there, and you've modeled for me as a young lawyer the role of attorneys in these difficult moments. So thank you personally for just joining us here. But we have the incredible opportunity to talk to you today about your new book. I think I want to start with why. Why did you decide to write this book, Open Season, Legalized Genocide of Colored People? We're going to talk a little bit about the title, but let's just start there.
Okay. Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me here.
Mike.
Good afternoon. Thank you all very much for having me here today for this important conversation at this important conference. Before I start, I want to introduce just a few special people, if I could. Probably the woman who is the reason why I flew from Los Angeles at 1:20 in the morning to New York LaGuardia Airport and got in the car and drove for 2 hours because she is such an incredible human being trying to make a difference not just for her family legacy, but the legacy for America. I am fortunate with Attorney Preston Tisdale and Scott Carruthers to represent her family in what we believe will be a landmark lawsuit, the Harvard reparations lawsuit for Renty, her great-great-great-grandfather, who was captured in an image that 150 years ago, when black people had no rights in America because we were slaves, they made him strip naked. The Harvard professor Louis Agassiz said that he could prove scientifically that blacks were inferior to whites, and not only did he want to have the literature, he wanted ocular proof. So he went around the country looking for a quote-unquote pure African, one that they had no white blood in their system, none that had been commingled, none that had been a product of the slave master, sexually assaulting black women. And he wanted to find this individual so he could study them and take photographs to have ocular proof to prove his racist theories. And he found such in Renty, down in Charleston, South Carolina, and they referred to her grandfather as the African. And it's ironic, all these years later, as she traced her roots miraculously, she often wondered, well, why do they call Papa the African? Weren't we all from Africa? And it was because he wasn't born in America. You see, in 1803, they had outlawed the importation of slaves. And so all the slaves that were being produced were being born on American soil, but that would not have helped prove Agassiz's theory. So he found Renty and his daughter Delia and some of their cousins, made them strip down, take pictures like you would commonly take a mug shot today, front, side positions, and they stored those pictures, and they are now at Harvard's Peabody Museum. And 150 years later, Harvard University is still telling the Renty's grandchildren that they own him, that he can't be free. But Tamara Lanier and her daughters, Shani, they refuse to allow Harvard to continue to steal their family legacy. They want their family photos back, and when they are successful in this endeavor, it will be the first time in history that descendants of African slaves have been able to recover anything from an American institution. So I would like to ask Ms. Tamara Lanier to stand and be recognized. Ms. Lanier. Thank you, Ms. Lanier. Thank you for allowing me to do that. Scott Carruthers, my law partner, Preston Tisdale, if you all would just stand and be recognized. And then lastly, I would like to acknowledge the family of Chulu Vega, 18-year-old kid who we represent his family, who was tragically on his on a date with his girlfriend and was killed by the police in what city? Weatherfield, Connecticut. And I would like to acknowledge his brother Anthony and his father, Mr. Vega. And so with that, the reason I wrote this book, to get to your question, you know, as trial lawyers, we can't talk. I remember being in Ferguson, Missouri, in the height of the Ferguson uprising, after Michael Brown